Let's talk about the other side of this polarity then.
Okay.
Introverted intuition perspectives, the polarity opposite of extroverted sensing or sensation.
That's right. All right. So using the function is focusing on a single vision or insight and following it to its likely conclusion. So basically running a simulation inside of yourself. That's its basic use. That's how most people are using it when they use it. And they'll get insights and they'll get like things that pop up and go like, oh, that's how that works. Yet another way of seeing it is like shower thoughts, right?
Or running like, okay, I'm going to go talk to this person. Here's probably how the conversation is going to go. I'm going to say this. They'll probably say this.
Right.
Then I'll say this.
Yeah.
Okay. If I can kind of control the conversation, see it emerge that way. Like people use it this way, I think, to imagine conversations. Imagine what it'll be like to show up at that football game or that party or the first day of school. Mm-hmm. You put yourself synthetically in that scenario in your imagination, and then you run the simulation of what that must be like.
Yep, exactly.
And that's its basic use.
Yep. But the wisdom of the function is grasping the deeper underlying patterns of existence and understanding the unfolding of potential futures, sensing the essence of truth beyond surface level appearances. So, I don't think it's difficult to tap into the wisdom of this function because I think people almost always present it as its highest ideal. Like it's the wisdom of the insight of knowing things that you can't know. But the actual wisdom of it isn't the insights. It's not the things that pop up. It's not like not
the flashes of shower thought.
Exactly. The wisdom is grasping that there are underlying patterns of existence, that there are things happening where we can't see them. And that's vital information for us as well.
So it's things like looking at a deciduous leaf and the vein structure of a deciduous leaf, and then zooming out a click and noticing that the tree and the branch of the tree have the same pattern of the leaf, and then zooming out and noticing that aerial like satellite shots of rivers look like the tree and the leaf, and going, wait a minute. I'm noticing a pattern of scale here. No matter how small it is, if it's a leaf or if it's a river seen from space, it has a very similar distribution of how it's got a thick trunk and then it branches out into smaller branches, basically.
Yeah.
There's a deeper meaning to this.
Yep.
And tuning into what does that mean that the pattern is replicated both on a micro and macro scale?
Well, then in noticing that there is a very similar pattern in our veins, and then noticing that there's a very similar pattern in our neurons. Like these are, what does it mean that all these things are so similar?
Lightning strikes look very similar too.
Lightning strikes.
Photographs of them.
You got it. Exactly. And so, that's interesting. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Right. Or that humans.
Some people would say it just means that things start off bigger and they branch into smaller components.
Yeah,
sure. That's how reality works. What other deeper meaning could there be, Antonia?
Sure, right. Oh, and that might be all it is, or maybe it helps give birth to theories about the nature of reality and physics. Or I can think of like a big piece of what introverted intuition and the wisdom of it has taught us is kind of the unchanging nature of humanness. Like people 5,000 years ago were probably very similar to people now. It's just we have a different context around us. Or people 10,000 or 15,000, like we don't change that much actually.
Like the energetic engine driving us is similar, even though we use language different, culture is different, the things we do are different.
Right.
But we're still in a way very human.
That's right.
And there's a long story, but that sounds like introverted sensing now.
So
I'm playing devil's advocate, obviously.
Yeah. So looking at all of that and seeing where we came from but observing the pattern of the unchanging nature is more of introverted intuition.
Yeah.
And going like, what does that mean? What does it mean that we haven't changed that much? And synchronicities and serendipities, like what do these things mean?
Personal archetypes. Collective archetypes.
That's right. And so then that taps us into something something more spiritual. And then now all of a sudden we're giving our brain a nutrient that we may not have known that it needed.
Yes.
So there's a wisdom here of deeper, not just implication, but meaning that nourishes our mind. And so I don't think we have to harp on this one too much because I think people kind of tap into this one in general, but it gives us a sense of something bigger.
Yeah. So I just wrote down the word proactivity as well, because again, we can take conscious control of these things. So that's a word I've added. I think I mentioned earlier, but I added to the list here under this as far as the meaning making that we bring into all context can be not like what is the dumbest meaning to take from it, but we can actually think about, okay, like its actual deeper meaning at the highest levels can come through this function of introverted intuition or perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we don't have to take it as the surface meaning that's given to us.
Yep.
In other words, we can play with the meanings and the concepts that are given.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's a battle of memes in the world. Like we're told that the biggest issues on the planet are X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Right? These social issues or whatever. It's going, wait, is that really it seems like the most obvious. Oh, that's, of course, it's just so obvious everywhere. But is actually what's going on? Or is there something under the engine of this actually driving what's going on?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
at a deeper level.
And it's a function that allows us to ask those questions and then not need to have, say, somebody else talking or, to brainstorm with or to travel around the world. Like you can basically sit in your own mind palace and deconstruct a bunch of stuff and figure out, is that the meaning? Is that the most important thing?
I know what I was going to say. We worked with a client recently that all we helped this client do is shift from an archetype meaning that they had for their lives that they were tuned to. And we said, why don't you tune to this archetype meaning? And they went, oh my goodness. And it like shifted their entire reality.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have a better experience of it just because they shifted the archetype that they pictured themselves as.
Yep.
It like shifted everything.
Yep.
This is where conscious control could come.
Yes.
You could say, wait a minute, why am I tuned to this archetype? I could be tuned to this meaningful archetype.
Yep, exactly. And so the wisdom of it is recognizing just how much of these things are actually already inside of us.
Yeah.
Whether we're aware of it or not. Yep, exactly.